Getting started with Rust.
Most programming languages have a package manager, a build tool, a test runner, and maybe a formatter, all separate. Rust ships with all of those built in, plus a memory safety guarantee that no garbage collector is required to uphold. That's a bold promise. Let's see it in action. In this video, we're covering getting started with Rust. Install it, create a project, write a program, and understand the tooling from day one. By the end, you'll know how to install Rust and keep it updated, how Cargo organizes a project, variables, types, functions, and control flow basics, and how to add a dependency and write a first test. Chapter 1. Install Rust with rustup. Rust is installed through rustup, a toolchain version manager. One command installs the compiler, Cargo, and the standard library documentation. On Linux or Mac OS, run the curl command from rustup.rs. On Windows, download and run rustupinit.exe. After install, verify with rustc-version and cargo-version. Rustup manages multiple toolchain versions, so you can switch between stable, beta, and nightly channels, and update with one command. Install Clippy and rustfmt now. They're the standard linter and formatter. Chapter 2. Create a project with Cargo New. Cargo New, hello-rust, creates the standard project layout instantly. The src directory holds your source files. Cargo.toml is your project manifest. Think of it as package.json, but for Rust. Cargo.lockpins exact dependency versions for reproducible builds. Committed for binaries, gitignore it for libraries. The gitignore file excludes the target directory by default. That's where compiled output goes. Chapter 3. Cargo.toml. Explained. Cargo.toml has two main sections. The package section declares the project name, version, and edition. Editions are backwards compatible snapshots of the language. Edition 2021 is the current default. It enables the latest idioms and should be your starting point. Dependencies are listed under the Dependencies section with a version requirement. We'll add one later. Chapter 4. Your first program. Println is a macro. The exclamation mark tells you that. Unlike a function, it inspects its format string at compile time and rejects invalid placeholders. Curly braces are the default display format. Curly braces with a colon question mark give you debug format. Curly braces with a variable name inside capture a local variable directly into the string. Available since Rust 1.58. Chapter 5. Cargo build and cargo run. Cargo check is the command you'll run most often during development. It's a type check pass that finds errors without fully compiling, much faster than a full build. Cargo run compiles and executes in one step. Cargo build --release produces an optimized binary. Always benchmark with release mode, because debug builds include extra runtime checks like overflow detection. Save release for benchmarks and shipping. Chapter 6. Variables and mutability. Immutability by default isn't a restriction, it's documentation. When you read let x equals 5, you know the value never changes. When you read let mut, you know it might. This makes code easier to reason about. Shadowing lets you rebind a name, even to a different type, without mutation, useful for transforming a variable step by step. Constants are declared with const, require a type annotation, and are evaluated at compile time. Underscores in numeric literals improve readability.
Chapter 7.
Basic types. Integer types are explicit. Choose the size you need. I32 is the default integer type. usize is the type for array indices and sizes because it matches the platform's pointer size. F64 is the default floating point. Tuples are fixed size and heterogeneous. You can destructure them or access elements by index. Arrays are fixed size, homogeneous, and stack allocated. Slices are borrowed views into a contiguous sequence. No ownership, just a reference.
Chapter 8.
Functions. Rust functions use the last expression is the return value convention. Omitting the semicolon from the last expression returns it. You can still use explicit return for early returns. It's just not idiomatic at the end of a function. The return type goes after an arrow, fn add, taking x, colon, I32, and y, colon, I32, arrow, I32, returns x plus y. Functions that return nothing have an implicit unit return type, similar to void. Tuples make returning multiple values clean and zero cost.
Chapter 9.
Control flow. If is an expression in Rust. You can use it on the right-hand side of a let binding. Match expressions are also expressions and are the idiomatic way to handle multiple cases. Ranges use ... equals for inclusive bounds. The wildcard _arm handles anything not matched above, and the compiler requires exhaustiveness. Every possible value must be handled. You can also match on enums, and the compiler ensures you handle every variant.
Chapter 10.
Loops. The loop keyword creates an infinite loop. Break it to exit, and you can return a value from break. For is the most idiomatic loop. It works over any type that implements into iterator. The ... range creates a half-open range. ... equals is inclusive. For I in 0.5, prints 0 through 4. Always iterate with &v or .iter unless you want to consume the collection. .enumerate gives you the index alongside each element.
Chapter 11.
The ownership concept. First look. Ownership is Rust's core memory management model. Stack-allocated types like integers implement copy. Assignment copies the value, and both remain valid. Heap-allocated types like string have a single owner. Assigning to another variable moves ownership, leaving the original invalid. Borrowing with ampersand lets you pass a reference without transferring ownership, so the caller keeps the value. Mutable borrows with ampersand mut allow modification, but only one mutable borrow can exist at a time. We'll cover ownership and borrowing in depth in the next video. This is just enough to get you started.
Chapter 12.
Adding a dependency. Cargo add appends the dependency to Cargo.toml and downloads it from crates.io on the next build. No manual build system configuration, no Git submodules, just one command. The use statement brings items into scope. In this example, we write use rand, ::rng, to get access to the random number generation trait. Then call gen_range with an inclusive range. 1 ... equals 100.
Chapter 13.
Reading user input. Standard in .read_line appends the line to a string. Note, &mute input, a mutable reference. .expect panics with a message if the result is an error. This is fine for tutorials and prototypes, but in production, use the question mark operator with proper error handling. .trim removes the trailing new line that read_line includes.
Chapter 14.
Printing and formatting. Rust's format strings are checked at compile time. A mismatched placeholder is a compile error. : invokes the debug trait, available on most standard types and easily derived with #derive, open parenthesis, debug, close parenthesis, bracket. dbg-bang is invaluable for quick print debugging because it shows you the expression text, file, line number, and value. Then returns the value so you can insert it into an expression without changing its behavior. eprint_ln_bang prints to standard error instead of standard out.
Chapter 15.
Cargo test basics. Tests live right next to the code they test. Inside a hash bracket, C, F, G, open parenthesis, test, close parenthesis, bracket module. They're only compiled when running cargo test. Assert _EQ bang gives a helpful diff output when it fails. Hash bracket should _panic bracket verifies that a call panics with an expected message. No separate test file, no test framework to install, it's all built in. Run cargo test to execute all tests, or cargo test with a name filter to run specific ones.
Chapter 16.
What to learn next. You now have the foundation. The single most important thing to invest time in is ownership and borrowing. Once that model is solid, the rest of the language follows naturally. After that, structs and enums for defining your own types, option and result with the question mark operator for idiomatic error handling, and traits as Rust's abstraction mechanism. The official Rust book at doc.rust-lang.org/book is free, thorough, and browser accessible. Rustlings on GitHub provides interactive exercises. If this was helpful, subscribe for more Rust content. Next up, ownership and borrowing in depth. We'll cover move semantics, borrowing rules, slices, and the patterns that make Rust code safe and ergonomic.